Yahoo News clickbait Next Shark released a story recently entitled Boy Killed by Father After Vaccination Dispute in Heartbreaking Murder-Suicide in San Francisco. This, of course, was written by Ryan General, Monday, January 18th, 2021, and it continues, a boy who was killed in an alleged murder-suicide by his father has been identified as 9-year-old Pierce O'Loughlin. Family tragedy. The boy and his father, Stephen O'Loughlin, 49, were both found dead at their home on Scott Street, Marina District in San Francisco. The boy's mother, Leslie Hu, asked authorities to check on her son after learning he did not show up for school that day. The father presumably shot his son multiple times before shooting himself with the same gun. Hu and O'Loughlin divorced in 2016 and were involved in an ongoing custody battle over their son. So they're setting up the stage here. Remember, the title mentions vaccination dispute, and we are currently in the midst of a big conversation, of a big to-do about the COVID-19 vaccine coming out. So be prepared. The articles like these are being used to program and to control the masses. So there are going to be keywords and buzzwords being used. The article continues, in Hu's filings for sole legal custody of the boy last year, she mentioned her ex-husband's growing adherence to the anti-vaccine movement, which is led by people who believe that vaccines cause autism and other disorders. So we have here the mention of anti-vaccine movement. O'Loughlin did not support Hu's wishes to have their son vaccinated. That is a couple's decision. And really, if it's really such a big deal, the question would be asked, how come it's only after reaching the age of 9 years old in this boy's life is vaccination an issue? I'm going to call BS on that. This is all part of building a case, just gathering up a bunch of reasons to make the other party look like they're incompetent, reasons that the court should side with you, and by you I mean who. When you build a case and you're stacking all this up, it's like flinging a bunch of noodles on a wall and seeing what will stick. And we'll see how that is just being piled up upon as this continues. Initial reports, Lori Nicholas, the lawyer representing Hu, mentioned mental illness and domestic violence in a statement on Friday. Yeah, she can mention whatever she likes. There's no context to this. The truth of the matter is, when it comes to an article like this, it's just using a tragedy to push a narrative. So when you have buzzwords like anti-vaccine and mental illness and domestic violence, you're not only stacking the deck against, in this case, the husband. Of course, it's a reasonable conclusion that all of these things being included in official reports is quite possibly the result of coaching by the lawyer. I mean, this lawyer, this is her bread and butter. She deals with this sort of thing all the time. They strategize to win cases in an already corrupt and crooked court system. But nevertheless, publicizing these kinds of buzzwords is just stacking the deck. And not only that, stacking the deck against this guy, it's also, when mentioned in articles like this, meant to make anti-vaxxers look crazy and unstable and untrustworthy. So articles like this is creating an atmosphere of fear. But yeah, this Lori Nichols mentioned mental illness and domestic violence. Well, what else was mentioned? And why were these mentioned? What's the context? I mean, for all we know, it could be in the context of Mrs. Hu here beating her husband and their son. Who knows? This article continues towards the end. Nicholas, the lawyer, further insisted that the boy died over more complex reasons than a disagreement regarding vaccinations. I agree. this is more than just vaccinations. Vaccinations or being anti-vax was a small cog or detail in this wide, gigantic machine, in this sham of divorce courts. This is in San Francisco, so who knows what the court system and what these lawyers were devising and throwing against the husband. In many cases, it's all stacked against the man. Courts will side with the woman. So who knows what, the details of what was going on with all of that. They were probably well on their way to destroying this man with the court system. Nicholas continues in reference to Stephen O'Loughlin, the father of the 9-year-old boy, that he was seeing that he was losing his control and punished Leslie, Mrs. Hu, with the ultimate act of violence, killing her child, not their child, not his child, her child. And this is in quotes, by the way. She will suffer as intended for the rest of her life. So, first of all, we can see in this quote, it's a direct quote, the mindset of this female lawyer representing this woman in a divorce case. There's no doubt in my mind that this lawyer was coaching and she knew exactly what buzzwords to include in what paperwork and in news releases such as this one. Ultimately, it's being used to stack the deck again in the court of public opinion. But as far as this quote goes, I'm no lawyer, but there are 3 things at least I would object with: hearsay, speculation, and opinion. There's no way that this lawyer could know exactly what was going on in the mind of this man who allegedly took his own life. There's no way that she could interpret the motives of his heart or what exactly he was thinking in one situation to another. So, especially now that this man is out of the way, she can just lambast him in interviews and articles like this. And then here's the cherry on top of the end: the victim's family is asking for privacy during this time, which is probably why they released statements and informations for an article like this, is, to make sure that everybody was respecting their wishes for privacy. If my assessment is correct, then it is these women who are ultimately to blame for the deaths of this young boy and his father. I think it's extremely clear to see that an article like this is a hit piece. It's opportunistic propaganda to sway public opinion in favor of the mother in this case, and in favor of vaccines, just in time, as I mentioned earlier, for the rollout of the COVID vaccine. And what's more is on this article, and I printed out a hard copy, and that's what you've been seeing through this whole thing. On this article, to further establish my point, are 3 consecutive links. When your family needs to know about how COVID-19 vaccine stockpiles, Moderna struggling to find enough kids to participate in COVID vaccine trial, more local healthcare workers vaccinated while demand for vaccine grows. Funny that these articles on the side not only mention vaccines, namely the COVID-19 vaccine, but also kids and vaccines. You look at this and you tell me that this is not propaganda, this is not programming. There are no coincidences in this world. And this is exactly how the media shapes and molds the minds of people. I hope this is a help to somebody. Be vigilant, always be on the lookout for stuff like this, trying to subvert people's minds and hearts. Remember always to think for yourself, and if you believe on the Lord, pray.